Hi, everybody. Welcome. If you're tuning in now or later, we are so excited to have you here with us. Just a couple of announcements before we dive in with the incredible Gail Becker of CAULIPOWER. Our applications for the 10th House Food and Beverage cohort closes this Friday. Apply to join this private membership community to get access to foundational business planning materials, investor prep sessions, strategic networking opportunities, and more. Our applications close on the 26th, and you get access to our free Food and Bev Accelerator program. We talk about hiring, sales-driven KPIs, financial forecasting, go-to-market strategies, and fundraising readiness. The link is 10thhouse.femalefoundercollective.com/FB. So if you're in the food and bev business, let's see you there. I'm Rebecca Minkoff, co-founder of Female Founder Collective and my lifestyle and accessories brand, Rebecca Minkoff, and I am truly honored to welcome Gail Becker. She is the founder and CEO of CAULIPOWER, the trailblazing brand that turned cauliflower into America's favorite better-for-you comfort food. I can attest, especially the pickle flavor. In just a few years, Gail grew the company into one of the fastest-growing frozen pizza brands in the U.S., reaching $100 million in revenue and distribution in more than 25,000 stores nationwide. Welcome. I'm so excited to see you again.
I love every minute I get with you, Rebecca. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk about the early days. You came from PR and corporate communications. What were some of the biggest lessons you had to learn when transitioning into the food industry?
It was a really interesting background with which to start a company, not just a food company, but really any company. Because I was in consulting, I had this wonderful perch from which to watch all these other companies. I saw what they did to succeed, and I saw what some did that led to failure. And honestly, I absorbed a lot of that, and I took a lot of those learnings and used it in building CAULIPOWER. Also, look, I didn't know anything about the food industry when I started, but I knew a thing or two about marketing. So, for all the listeners out there who are thinking about starting a company, everybody comes with something. Maybe it's finance, maybe it's sales, maybe it's marketing. Whatever it is, that should be what you lead with. And in my case, that's what I did.
So clearly we can Google your background of how you came up with and the why of cauliflower. I think everyone tuning in should. Since we're focused on the business nitty gritty here, I want to kind of get to certain topics that are critical. You obviously came up with the recipe, the name, the brand, the whole thing, the reason why. But then you have to meet with national retailers like a Walmart or a Kroger. You're asking a huge chain to give you space, which they have to take away from someone else. So what did you have and bring into the room with you that won that shelf, and then not only won it, but kept it? So if you could talk me through that pitch process and then what you did to make sure it had success.
It's such a good question because I remember thinking as I walked into some of these very large retailers, wow, I'm not big enough. I don't have that kind of scale. I don't have that kind of workforce. And I'm the David, not the Goliath. And what I realized after a fairly short period of time, there's a lot of retailers out there who are rooting for the Davids, who want the Davids to win, who need the smaller brands, the innovative brands, the creative thinking, the new blood. And once I understood that, I was really able to lead with my story and why I did what I did. Look, the frozen pizza aisle represents about a $5 billion industry just in frozen pizza. Good thing I didn't know that at the time, Rebecca, or I wouldn't have ever gone into it.
Yeah.
But when you look at that aisle and you look at all those boxes, you realize, wow, there's no one there who can put their name on a box, who can put their face on a box, who can put a story on a box, something that consumers really want to relate to. And so every retailer I met, I started to build a relationship with them, and I let them know why I did everything I did, why I gave up everything I had, why this is so important to me, and why there's a lot of consumers out there whose needs are not being met.
And when you say not being met, you were able to go into a new arena that now is so needed, gluten-free, for people who suffer from, like me, not being able to eat and digest it. So when you got on the shelves, what were the first 90 days like, and what actions moved product for you?
Let me take one step back. I actually wasn't talking about being gluten free, although obviously we are, and I never marketed ourselves as a gluten free brand. What I'm
Interesting.
talking about is there was no better for you pizzas.
Right.
There was a whole universe of people who hadn't eaten, me amongst them, by the way, who hadn't eaten frozen pizza in so long because there was nothing for them, or because they ate it and felt like crap afterwards, or because
Right.
they wanted something that could satisfy that craving, but they didn't feel like junk after. So that was our audience. And it was really that consumer who built CAULIPOWER, because she was a consumer, and I say she because it was primarily female. That was the consumer who built and super fueled CAULIPOWER, and she hadn't been in the frozen food aisle for quite some time. And
Interesting.
and to a retailer, the fact that you can bring in an incremental consumer, a
Yep.
consumer that's everything.
Yep.
That is gold.
You're
So
totally
and so that was our secret sauce. We look, everything we make is gluten free, and that's certainly why I started the brand. But in no way, shape, or form have we ever marketed ourselves as a gluten free brand. We're a brand that makes great tasting food that happens to be gluten free. No one had ever done that before.
interesting. I can definitely see why to the retailer that's gold, because when we started out and we were bringing in a new consumer to department stores, they were like, "That's why we have you, because you're bringing in the
Exactly.
young. You're taking our demo from 60 down to 50." But the way they do the math,
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what the big guys can't do. And
correct.
those are the most valuable consumers. Those are the consumers who buy the most, who have the biggest baskets, who spend the most, who buy higher priced items. Those are the consumers that all the retailers want.
Yeah. So, what would you say you did those first 90 days? Was there anything specifically that is replicatable that you would say to someone they could do today?
Yeah, the first thing I would say, because I've seen this go poorly for other new entrepreneurs. The most important thing you can do in those first 90 days sounds pretty simple, but it is crucial. Get product on the shelf
Yeah.
and be on time. So the first rule, be on time and get it there. Otherwise, forget it. There is no bigger way to piss off a retailer than leave an empty space on the shelf. So that was a good learning. And luckily we hit that metric pretty quickly. I would say that I was in constant communication with our retailers, and for many of them, I still am. Every time CAULIPOWER gets recognized with whether an award or has a great um, uh, piece of media, or there's a fantastic influencer that just posted about us, I'll send it to the retailer. And building that relationship with them is,
Yeah.
again, really what's key, because the sales force for those big multinational corporations, they don't do that.
Right.
So
When you
that's
get
that's what I did.
when you get into the nitty gritty, like we would find if we had people in the field that the product couldn't was at the store, but not even, like
Hmm.
you said, it was in the stock room. So they would be posting low sell-throughs. And
Yeah,
you come to find out when you send in a team that no one bothered to put it out on the floor.
100%.
So how did you, knowing you're launching in these huge behemoths, get and make sure that this product is actually leaving the stock room and making it to the aisle?
Well, in the beginning, so we launched in just 30 Whole Food stores,
Okay.
and they were scattered throughout Southern California and a few other states. So I used to, every day, when I would take my son to school, he and I would call as many stores as we can. I'd be Kathy Consumer. My name was always Kathy. I don't know why. And I'd say, "Hi, this is Kathy. I'm looking for this new brand, CAULIPOWER, but I didn't see it on your shelves." And then I'd wait like 5-10 minutes while they checked. "Oh, we have it in the back. Oh gosh, could you put it out? Because I really want to come in and get it." I must have done, my son and I must have done, I don't even know, hundreds of hours over the school year trying to make sure that not just it was stocked initially, but restocked and that they ordered more. I also used to drive around to all the stores. I'd keep a cooler in the back and I would drive around to all the stores and fill it up. The in terms of some of the larger retailers, a lot of it is, A, trust, B, I did get a broker pretty early on, a national broker, and they really helped, ensure that that product was on shelf. But honestly, in the beginning, we were growing so quickly and there was so much consumer demand that if they didn't get it on the shelf, that meant lost sales for them.
Yeah.
So, be a product that everybody is clamoring for,
Right.
they'll be sure to put it on the shelf.
Smart. Very smart. So when it came to raising capital, what milestones were you sort of looking at before you did that?
So I self-funded. I left corporate America in May of 2016. I launched in February of 2017 in those 30 Whole Food stores. And then by October of that year, we were in 900 Walmart stores. That was our test number.
Wow.
And it's interesting because that's when I needed to raise money because I couldn't make the pizzas for those 900 Walmart stores unless I took in cash. So my lesson to everyone there was I waited too long.
Okay.
Don't wait until you need cash to raise it because
Okay.
one, it always takes longer than you think. And two, you don't want to feel pressured when you're making some really key and vital decisions about the cash that you bring into the business and the partners that you bring in around the table. So in hindsight, I wished I would have started sooner. That would
Okay.
be my advice.
How long between placing the PO for the 900 stores did you have before you had to raise the capital to produce the goods? And did you
Uh,
yeah.
mm, let's see. We got notice that we were going to go into those 900 stores probably by maybe July. So maybe like 3 or 4 months, maybe June, 3-4 months. Certainly not enough time. So in addition to trying to, manage an incredibly fast growing business and trying to be the type of supplier that, going into Walmart, going into any big retailer requires an enormous amount of structure and paperwork and process. So grow the company, put together this, this pipeline, this ecosystem, this storage, the shipping, everything you need to be a Walmart supplier. Oh, and then by the way, while you're doing all that, raise some money. Oh, and also hire some people.
Right.
So because you might need people to help you. It was too much.
I was gonna say, and be a mom and do your
And
day.
be a mom. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh
It's
my
why my
gosh.
hair went from straight to curly, but that's a whole other podcast. So we'll leave it at that.
I always equate that time with like when you're going down the roller coaster and you feel like your soul's going to leave your body and your face is going
Yeah.
like this. That's what I
Yeah,
mean.
exactly.
You're trying to be all those things at once.
You're trying, yes, it was crazy, but I always like to say crazy wonderful because just to, pile on the advice train. It was also the best time of the business, and I know you and I have spoken about that before, which I love. I can just see it in your face how
Yeah,
you're thinking back to those times. It was the best time. I don't know that I appreciated that it would be the best time.
right.
And I think that is probably, there's some good little nuggets in there, is that you have to enjoy the ride and you have to create your own definitions of success. Success should not be when you hit 50 million or you hit 75 million or you hit 100 million. That shouldn't be your definition of success. Maybe your definition of success is, wow, I got orders for my product and I'm going to deliver them on time.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
wonderful definition. And I wished I had taken a few more breaths and moments to recognize that is a key part in my journey.
I think it's critical because if you don't recognize those moments, then you lose sight of what it's all for. And it just becomes about some end number that you might never get. And then
Exactly.
why did I slog through and not enjoy any of this for the number I didn't get at the end?
For the number you didn't get at the end, but also the number you didn't even know you were supposed to get, or the number you never had any intention of getting because you didn't even know that such a number existed. It certainly wasn't your motivation for doing this in the first place.
Right.
I'm speaking for myself, but I'm probably speaking for a lot of others as well.
Totally.
So if that wasn't your initial goal and your initial mission, then why are you so focused on something that was never intentionally your goal and objective anyway?
Right. Right. It's a really good point. And I think so many people need to be reminded of that, of like, what
Yeah,
was the purpose and those crazy, chaotic moments. That's what you should have as some markers for success.
exactly. Exactly.
So let's transition into brand and marketing. What do you think, especially like specific to your industry, because everyone is different, marketing strategies like demo and promotions, like what do you feel really drives in-store sales these days?
So, I would divide demo into two parts, and also a lot of it depends on what kind of product you have. As a frozen product, it is almost impossible to demo.
Okay.
Uh, like I can't stand on a street corner and hand out bags of my chips or bars that I have. I
Right.
need a freezer. I need an oven. You mean it's like a whole it's a whole production. I don't, for me, in-store demos was never a great way to demo. It's very expensive. It's
Yeah.
very expensive to demo in stores. What I did was I went to like women's conferences or all of these different gatherings. This was pre-COVID. We had a truck at one point, and I felt like if I could, because we were a new concept. No one had ever, unless you made it, no one had cauliflower crust pizza.
Right.
Cauliflower created the frozen the category. So you either made it or you didn't have it.
And making it is a pain in the butt, let me tell you.
Exactly, 90 minutes that none of us have.
No.
So what I did was I felt like, wow, I had a barrier to overcome. I needed to get as much pizza in people's mouths as I probably could. And honestly, paying a couple $100 to a store to 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 demo, maybe, 20 people is just not going to move the needle. So I got trucks wherever I spoke. I would ask if I could sample pizza. And I did that pretty relentlessly for the first couple of years. We sampled a lot of pizza. And it was really that act of getting as much pizza in people's mouths that really helped to grow the brand. Because once you try it, hopefully you love it. Promo is really important. Unfortunately, I did not really understand, because I didn't come from this world. I didn't understand how important promo was, but not just the act of doing promotions, the strategy behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying more promotions is necessarily better than, better. What I'm saying is the right promotions at the right times, at the right retailers. That is a really important strategy that honestly took me years to understand. So the advice is, get something, get someone who is really well versed in sales and promotional strategy, because in retail, that's key.
Do you think there's any nugget that you've seen work recently that you feel like for the frozen food market specifically has been an unlock for you guys?
Um, you know, I would say, yeah, I mean, promotions is really important. We give out a lot of, honestly, we give out a lot of free pizza. We give
Yeah.
out a lot of coupons. We're always engaging our social community, of which I hope everyone's a part at CAULIPOWER, to try and entice people to try it.
Yeah.
I don't mind giving away a free pizza, because I know once they try it, I'll have a customer for life.
That's good.
So that has served us well. I mean, honestly, anyone who knows me, I mean, I don't go into the bathroom without my free coupons. You
I
could
know
follow
every
me
time I see
anywhere,
you,
everywhere.
it's the best. Even at a dinner where women could buy all the cauliflower in the world, they were so excited to get the coupons. It was amazing.
I have given, honestly, this is the craziest thing. I have given a free pizza coupon to a billionaire, literally. And he looked at it and he looked at me and he said, "You know what? No one has ever given me anything."
Wow.
And I thought, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And he loved it.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a cauliflower purchaser. I have no idea. But
Mhm.
it was a really interesting takeaway, is that not only is it, something that you're going to get them to try, but it's also, they find it in their pocket. Oh yeah, that CAULIPOWER brand. They see it. They know what the box looks like. Oh yeah, I'm not going to use the coupon, but you know what? Next time I'm in the store, I'm going to try that pizza. So it's just having those constant reminders that also really help to drive sales holistically.
I love that. So we're going to take a question from the audience. Cassandra
Okay.
wants to know how you feel a brand can get press without a budget, because they don't have a budget to hire PR. Any tips and tricks that you might have?
Yeah, I remember so I didn't have a PR firm for a couple of years. So what I remember is that I reached out to media myself. And now obviously I came from the world of marketing, so I definitely had an advantage. But if you have an interesting story to tell, there's so many outlets today. And the wonderful thing is, not only are there so many outlets, but media is so stretched so thin that the more content you feed them, the more likely they are to run with something. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to be your own advocate, and don't also be afraid to leverage on current news, right? Like, if there was an article about, I remember there was an article about Trader Joe's selling out of its cauliflower rice because people were using it to make cauliflower crust. It was many years ago. And I would forward that article and say, look, this is what people are doing with it. Just think if you had a frozen pizza, and I would get coverage that way. I'd send it to retailers. Honestly, I mean, people were probably so sick of hearing from me, but that's what it takes.
It is what it takes. And I always say to people, once you get one email format from one media company, it's like the key to the kingdom. Then you know
Oh
it's
yeah,
name dot last name at.
exactly,
And,
exactly.
and don't be afraid to have Chat GPT help you write your press release. It's some of the
Oh my
best
goodness.
work.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of advantages today that I certainly didn't have.
Same, same. All right, so I want to move on to operations and supply chain. This is a question from Diana Gonzalez. When
Okay.
scaling, what job positions would you have hired earlier?
I did hire, well, I would say the first person, so the first two people I hired was one, somebody to fill out all the paperwork, just reams and reams of paperwork to get into retailers,
Yeah.
just to get into the system so that they can order you and all of that. So definitely someone to do all that, and a salesperson. I would hire. I did hire my a head of operations pretty early on. I think you need that. Um, I think there's this interesting phenomenon with a lot of founders who feel like they sort of need to do everything. And, the issue is your time is so valuable. Your time to, share your story, meet consumers, meet with retailers. Nobody can sell like you can. So I think people to hire up to run operations and sales, and do the all the paperwork. That would be those would be my first hires.
Yeah. And I would add to it, get someone with the paperwork that knows how to do it, because I hired like my
Yes.
ex-boyfriend to help me do it. And that he was as dumb as I was when it came to that.
If he wasn't your ex, then he would have been, is what I'm hearing.
For sure. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's get into co-manufacturers. So when you
Okay.
were choosing and negotiating with them, what red flags should founders watch for when picking those people?
Finding your first co-man is always challenging, probably particularly for me because there is not a lot of frozen pizza manufacturing in the United States, particularly not gluten-free. There's some, but not a lot. And the problem is, as a result of that, nobody wanted to take on such small volume. Now, if you have like a bag of chips or bar, that's easier because you have more choices in terms of co-mans who can actually make them. So I would say I would do a couple things. One, try and find, people who really understand your mission. Two, talk to other customers that they have and make sure that they have and see what they have to say.
Yeah.
Uh, and probably most importantly, make sure you hire, when you do a deal, a contract, make sure you hire a manufacturing contract attorney,
Mm,
not your brother-in-law who does employee law, who does employment law and said he would do that for free. No,
yeah.
you need a real contract manufacturing expert, and that will save you a lot of heartache and will protect you against things that might happen in your relationship.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, especially with the stuff that can go on with manufacturing is kind of wild, what they will not
Yeah.
take responsibility for, even in my world.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so once you found your co-man, as I'm now going
Hmm.
to say,
Yes.
how do you handle surges in demand without jeopardizing quality or cash flow? I know for us, the factory would reserve whatever slots we said we were making for bags. And
Hmm.
if we had a surge, they're like, now you're at the back of the line for the extra unit. So how did you
Yeah.
deal with that type of growth?
It was hard, particularly in the beginning, because the co-man I had chosen at the time was so small that we were growing together.
Right.
And so we were growing so fast, they couldn't always keep up with demand.
And when that
And
happens, you just have to accept, like, all right, I can't take on these orders.
Yes, and I think it's one of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur. I think inherently we're not very good at saying no.
Yeah. Tell
We're
me about
not. It's just we're not built like that. I'm like, yeah, of course we can do it.
it.
I
Yeah.
remember pretty early on, I had to say no to a
Yep.
very large customer, because I knew that I could not deliver to Walmart and this very large customer at the same time.
Right.
It would be impossible. I didn't have enough volume. So I could do one of two things. I could say I could do it and then fail miserably,
Yeah.
or I could just say, I'm sorry, I can't take it. And that was, I mean, painful, but I did it. And as a result, I protected that relationship, and I protected our reputation as in terms of always being a company that can deliver.
Yep. I love that. I think that it's critical to know that if you say no for the right reasons, they ultimately respect you more than
Yes.
saying yes and, for lack of a better word, bleeping on the bed. And
Yeah. Exactly.
this is LinkedIn, everyone. And you've ruined that relationship forever.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking as someone who has ruined some relationships by saying yes. Um, all
Right,
right.
we
So
all
we only
do.
have about 10 minutes left here. So
Okay.
I'm going to move into innovation
Okay.
and leadership. This is from Desiree B.
Okay.
What data and metrics do you use when deciding between doubling down on core products versus expanding into new categories?
It is such a good question and so hard. And I will tell you that, because I think one of your questions earlier was, what would you do differently? I'm going to expand it to this one. Today we have a lot of data, lots and lots of data. And we use that data to inform us about what's working, what's not working, what are consumers liking, what are they not liking, and where's the white space. We didn't have any of that data in the beginning.
Yep.
So we made some good choices. We made some not good choices, honestly. And we learned the hard way. If I had had the data, I wouldn't have made some of those mistakes. So I would say bring in data as soon as you can. Now it's expensive. So there's different levels, different packages. Now we have a very robust, set of data. But even in the beginning, if you could just get a little, that
Yeah.
is going to save you lots of heartache in terms of your innovation strategy.
Yep. Data is everything.
Everything.
Um, how do you test new product concepts before rolling them out nationally? I know when I saw you last, you're like, try the pickle crust. And I was like, gross pickle pizza. I tried it and I was like, I'm never not buying this. I'm going to buy it all the time. So how do you get those inspirations and
Yeah.
then test them out?
By the way, anyone who's listening, if they DM me, I'll get them a free dill pickle pizza just because I want to
Okay.
spread the
Just
word. How about that? I know I feel like I'm going to regret it, but I want everybody to try it.
it's the
Okay.
best. It's the
It
best.
is the best. Thank you, Rebecca. So that was, sometimes ideas are happening in plain sight. So I saw some data about how pickles were the number one growing topping on pizza in pizza restaurants.
Huh.
And I thought, wow, that's so interesting, but it had never been done on a frozen pizza before. And that was really the inspiration for that. And boy, I hope it's okay for me to say, I think we nailed it, because it is pretty good. But what we also do is we also test, with consumers, with focus groups. We test our products all the time. And you know, we've left a lot of things on the cutting room floor, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. I think when you really think about innovation strategy, what you launch is very important. What you don't launch is also very important.
Yep.
And what I say is really easy to make food taste good. Really easy to make food better for you. Really hard to do both.
Yeah. Yes, integrity is key there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
All right, next question from Dana Thompson. What is one thing you had to compromise on that ultimately led to a stronger business? That's a good one. Or at the
My
time
sleep.
felt
My sleep, does that count?
like sleep, girl trips, girls' nights, chocolate.
Manicures. No, I mean, in some ways, maybe that's true. Which is not how I thought I would answer a question like that, but um, I did put my personal life on hold.
Yeah,
I had the business and I had my kids,
yeah,
and there was nothing else. And I lost a lot of friends. I think it's one of the reasons why there's this like sort of unspoken bond between founders, because we get it, we know each other, we've been there. Um, but yeah, I did put my personal life on hold. I had to,
yeah,
and I did sacrifice a lot in that respect, but did it did lead to a better business, a more focused one. I don't know what it did to my health necessarily, but that was a big personal sacrifice for me, and but it was the right thing to do.
yeah. I would look at it as like I hate this word, but seasons. There's going to be a season where you're
Yeah,
sacrificing your personal life
exactly,
and work
exactly,
in your business, and then your kids grow up. They don't want to hang out with you anymore, maybe, and then
exactly.
you can have a personal life.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. I call myself Benjamin Buttons. I'm living my life backwards. There you go.
Exactly, exactly. All right, next and last question. What is a piece of advice you have for food founders in 2025 who want to follow a similar growth path to you?
I would say, you know, I do love the food industry. And I love it for all kinds of reasons, but there's one thing I particularly love about it that I think is hard to say about other industries. And that is, you can enter the industry with no experience, and it can be very welcoming. And we've all eaten food. We've all bought food. We've all cooked food. So you're even just by being a consumer, you already have great insight into the industry. Think about this. There's multinational companies that spend hundreds of millions of dollars on R&D. Why did I come up with the cauliflower crust pizza? They should have. But they didn't, because they weren't a consumer in need.
Right.
So a consumer in need is a very, very powerful and empowering um, uh, element in terms of being successful in your business. So always be the founder, always be the business leader, always be, the one who's helping other entrepreneurs.
Yep.
But number one, always be the consumer.
Yep.
And that is particularly true in the food industry. And it's such a gift. It is such a gift. And I hope all the food founders and entrepreneurs out there feel it. It's really a privilege to work in this industry.
Well, you're incredible. You're so welcoming. Thank you for providing good for you and amazing tasting food. For those of you who might have missed her giveaway, if you DM her, she's going to give you the pickle dill pizza. So don't forget to head over there, head to CAULIPOWER, or buy it in your grocer freezer aisle. It's the best tasting frozen pizza. And I can't thank you enough for being here today.
Thank you so much. And I probably should have said you can DM CAULIPOWER too. We'll get it to you one way or another. Thank
Perfect.
you. It was
Thank
such a pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And for
Bye-bye,
those
everyone.
tuning in, bye. For those still tuning in, the last day to join our food and beverage cohort is tomorrow. And if you want to be the next Gail Becker, you should join. So we'll see you in the 10th house. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.